also love the story. And I also love this. You guys are a little bit younger because I think it will make it more relatable. And I love the fact that although there are powers and possibilities that you guys go through the same teenage angst as, most kids do, where you're trying to fit in, and except you have to do it with a lot more other things. Talk about that a little bit. Let's start with you, Leah. The fact that your characters are going through things like regular kids as well, where you want to belong, you want to make friends, for lack of purpose, you want to be normal, even though obviously it's not possible because there are other stuff going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're saying, like, how do I feel?
Yeah. Knowing that, because I think it helps kids too to know, hey, even though you guys have these powers, you're in this world. Oh, you're struggling with a lot of the same things I'm struggling with,
Yeah, I definitely feel like that. Like, I don't want to speak for Walker, aka Percy, because I'm kind of going into that, but like, I feel like when Percy found out that he was a demigod, I feel like he almost felt like he was alone for a second. Like what in the world? Like where's all this stuff coming from and things? And I feel like after he went to Camp Half-Blood and saw that there's thousands of kids like him and stuff, like, I feel like that's what made him finally realize, like, wait a minute, this, like, I am not alone and stuff. And I like, and I know that that's like Percy, but like, like, I don't know how to really explain it, but I feel like, just like with Annabeth, like when she ran away from home, but Luke and Thalia had came and got her and stuff, I feel like that's when she started to feel that comfort in her, like, I'm not by myself,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think Walker, especially for you, you know what I mean? You're trying to, as stuff is happening, it's like, what is going on? And then even like, you're like, your best friend and your mom, you're like, wait a minute, you guys knew and you let me struggle? Like, why? Talk about that part.
Well, like Leah said, he's never really felt like he's had a place before. And then Grover comes along and he thinks that he might have found someone that's similar to him, going through the same kind of things. But Grover betrays him a little bit. We're still not on speaking terms. So, yeah. But he gets to Camp Half-Blood, and he realizes, like Leah said, that there's hundreds of kids that are just like him and don't fit in anywhere else. And I think it's a good lesson, like there's a place for everybody,
Absolutely. And yes, when we first meet, you were like, oh, cool, he finally has, his buddy. And then it's like, really, friend? Like, you're going to betray him? But he's thinking 10 steps ahead, and he has to keep him in the dark in order to protect them. Talk about that, because that has to be hard too. Sometimes you have to do stuff with your friend that they may not get right away, but in the long term, you really were looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That was definitely a tough scene to film in that principal's office, because it was like one of the first scenes that we filmed. It was, during that first month when we were just like really getting to know each other. But that scene was so much fun to film because, yeah, you're right. Grover was thinking 10 steps ahead, and he did what he had to do in the moment to keep Percy safe, which is, I think, what Grover values above all else. And I think it's why, his character is so, like, likable, at least to me. And
only to you.
Only to me, Grover is likable. And it's because of that. It's because he's willing to sacrifice what might look important now for what really is important down the line.
Listen, I know you guys are still working things out in therapy, slowly but surely, by the time the show all airs, you'll be back on Team Friendship. But I think it's great. And I love the fact that, it is, you guys aren't all perfect. And I think the kids will really love that. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You too. How are you?
Hi. Our Eagles could have done better yesterday.
Yes, they could have, but we still have the best record, and it's still Go Birds.
All right.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Well, we had to get that out. But anyways, now let's handle the business before we all get fired. I love this show, and I love that Percy's a little bit younger. Do you know what I mean? In this show, and that it's not all so easily explained. Talk about taking that direction versus the previous installation we've gotten from Percy.
I think if you're going to tell a story about a kid at that point in his life, who is just emerging from childhood into something in which you're being asked to wrestle with a lot of really complicated, really complicated issues, it's important to feel like you're looking at a kid. It just doesn't play the same way otherwise. And there are really good reasons why people would choose not to mount a production like this with 3 underage leads. But the value of feeling like you're in a story with 12 and 13-year-olds vastly outweighed the challenges. So it was just a thing that everybody had to buy into, and the studio had to understand was going to cost more money and be more difficult, and everybody understood it was worth it.
I agree. I also like the direction that you took with the mom. You know what I mean? That she's more assertive and she's more of a protector instead of just being like, reactionary. Talk about that decision, because I think that's really important too for young people to see that, she is advocating for him. She's supportive of him.
I think it was really important that you understood. I imagine Sally is mostly a single mom. There is a guy who lives in their house who is clearly not participating in parenting in any meaningful way. Sally is a single mom to a kid who has a whole host of challenges that he is aware of and deals with every day, and a whole host of challenges he has no idea about, and is in the impossible position of having to both protect him and train him to protect himself at the same time. That felt like a story worth telling. And it felt like part of Percy becoming a teenager and emerging from childhood was gaining the ability to see both of his parents as people who were just really trying to do the best they could to love him and to do what they could for him in an impossible situation. And so it's a big part of the story, I think. I think it's part of the story in the book. It's just the mix is different. And I think once you have an actor like Virginia Cole who can impart that gravity to that character, it gives you a lot more room to be able to see what it's like for her to raise this kid and to know when it's time to tell him that he's messed up, and to see her lose her patience periodically. It's not easy raising a kid like that. And I think any story that doesn't acknowledge that it's not easy to raise that kid isn't telling the truth.
I also like, last but definitely not least, I like the fact that in this time where kids are so unsure, right? He has all these powers, but he still goes through all the things that a teenager goes through, or preteen, wanting to be liked, wanting to belong, wanting to just know who he is. I think that makes him more human and more relatable. Was that also done purposeful?
I think that's why kids for 20 years and now adults have resonated with these books and this story. That there is something about these characters that anyone can access. Everyone at some point has felt like an outsider, or felt like they didn't fit, or just struggled, even when they had some sort of moment of realizing, hey, there's something special about me, or I have this tool or this power, still have no idea how to use it and what that's going to take. And I think all of those access points for audiences for the last 20 years, and now hopefully new audiences with this series, will get to tap into that. And I think that's what's so universal about this book and now about this show.
Outstanding, and I totally agree. Thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with me. And it's still Go Birds.
Go Birds!
Go Birds. Thank you very much. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.